Know if you see live on your end.
I see it.
All right.
We're live.
We're live on the Facebooks now. Just to get us recording here. All right, here we go. We'll go 3, 2, and 1. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Shawn. Today, we've got a guest joining us. One that was supposed to join us last week, but we've got a great topic today, and I'm pulling it up here. We're talking about the 5 media secrets proven to amplify your brand and your voice with Emily Richett. Did I get that right?
Richett.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. Richett. Wildcat. That's easy to remember, right?
Yeah.
That's who we play this week. Speaking of
which,
I
was going to say it's probably not a good nickname for us this weekend, considering college football. So
that's right.
Yeah, no, I think it's Richett. So yeah, Emily, she's she'll tell you all about herself, and we'll get in a little bit more. But yeah, these secrets I'm looking forward to. I've got the list in front of me, and I think it's going to be good. Couple of things on there that surprised me. I'm not going to give too much away, but there's some cool stuff on there that we'll talk about. And
not to mention, we teased a little last week. She made a little, we thought it was a little surprising email that she sent to us about something like getting away from the
a little insider knowledge on actually being part of the media and how that's changed over the years. So yeah, maybe we can get that out of her. I don't know. We'll see. That was very timely, I think. So maybe she'll share that.
Absolutely. And I believe she's got a beverage or two.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's important.
Little pre-show chat. She did reveal she had multiple beverages. So we like her already. That's for sure.
So that means we can let her out of the green room.
Yeah, we can.
All right. Well, welcome Emily on the show.
Hi, guys.
Yes. Thanks for joining us this week.
Hi, guys. This is like a dream come true. I feel like that's what I'm supposed to say. It sounds like I'm walking out onto the Oprah stage or something.
TEDx talk or something, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You should set your goals a little higher if that's a dream come true. So
no, that's I set them maybe mediocre goals so that then I can crush them every week. So
there
I'm
you
winning.
go.
I'm
there
really
you
winning.
Go.
I don't know. I mean, if a lot of our people listen, they don't see the videos, but I'm looking at Emily's backdrop. She's got a gold ClickFunnels record there. So that's a nice little trophy.
Absolutely.
Yes. That I say, it's this way.
Yeah. StreamYard's backwards on everything for some reason.
I earned that in the hardest, most non-ClickFunnels way possible by like custom earning every dollar of that award. I'd like to earn another one, but do it a little more passively, which I've been listening to I've been listening to your podcast. Hopefully that'll help me.
Yeah, that passive income secret, huh? Yeah, that nobody has figured out yet.
So I was like, I thought this was supposed to be easy. Yes.
Yeah, it's a myth. Don't fall for it.
It's too late.
A 4-hour work week doesn't exist. I thought it did.
Yeah, it's a 4-hour work week. There's just like 20 weeks in a week. That's all.
That's right.
So it makes it 80 hours or whatever that math is. So.
Yeah. I mean, felt like
Tim Ferriss is 4-hour podcast for one episode. So like, if that's the only thing he's doing, he's exceeding his 4-hour work week, So.
Right. Absolutely.
But anyway. Yeah. All right. So we let our guests go first, Emily. So let's find out what you've got to share there on your beverage.
Okay. And you guys can hear me okay? I don't hear myself in my own. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is
loud and clear.
All right. That's all that matters. Okay. Well, I brought multiple. So one thing, my PR firm, kind of my claim to fame is that we do all of the brewery PR. We have something called Beer Month. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm from Beer City, USA. Did you know that as why you invited me on the show?
No, that was.
I think I saw that in your email.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise after the fact, which we'll get into how you ended up here too, because that's its own kind of cool little marketing story.
Yeah, it really is.
So where is Beer City USA actually called Beer City USA, or is that? the
We like
nickname
to.
for another city.
You know, it's actually an award I think we won probably like 6 years ago now, maybe a little less, but I'll tell you what, and from a marketing standpoint, we just cling to that. It's used on everything. It's still on billboards. Grand Rapids, Michigan. We won that title. I think it was USA Today gave it to us, called us Beer City USA, because we do have tons of breweries. And if you come visit, you can actually go to Experience Grand Rapids, like experiencegr.com, and print out your own beer tour and win awards and check in and do all that stuff. So we work with all the brewers. But my favorite, my heart is with the cider makers and the craft cider. Michigan. We produce second largest apple producer in the country. So I've got today the number one dry hard apple cider winner at Glimcap. So an international award. And this is from Vandermill. So I was going to crack this one open, but also Farmhouse Cider is awesome. And they have one called Midwest Nice. And to introduce myself to you guys properly, I just thought,
Midwest Nice. I like it.
Yeah, we make good cider though in Michigan too.
So you're gonna do a blend and pour them together, or you're gonna have them separate?
I was gonna do like one sip and just kind of. Yeah, and I don't have a glass. I didn't know how fancy we get here.
We get very fancy.
Yeah, we have fancy glasses.
But, you guys do pour it into a glass and show. You know what? I have a mason jar right here. That's
perfect.
That's perfect.
Yeah, for cider, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, and one other thing, I wanted a recent love that I found because I just had my third baby, and this is called Athletic Brewing Company. Have you ever heard of Athletic Brewing Company?
Have not.
No.
If any of your fans are non-alcoholic drinkers, it's a good non-alcoholic beer.
Doesn't make sense to my brain, but okay.
Sounds like an oxymoron.
There might be times in life where, like, I was pregnant.
Yes.
So it actually tastes good, though. My husband likes them. My next door neighbor kind of turned us on to these, and they're actually really good. So I wanted to throw that out there for an alternative.
I could see that when you're pregnant, you know, you're someone who is craving a beer, but you just can't. I could see the need there, but for Shawn and I don't know, man.
Well, so my husband's heading up north with the two older ones, and he just wants to stay on top of his game. I mean, he's going to be like solo dad all weekend. So I got him a case of those, so he can still like feel fun around the campfire, but he'll still be on top of it, right?
There you go. He won't be passing out by the campfire.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's cool.
Jonathan, what do you have over there?
Well, I have a straight from the state of Kentucky, the bluegrass state. A little reason here, because I think Shawn and I, we have a team that we root for on a regular basis, college football. The number one Georgia Bulldogs. Number one. So I forgot my hat today. I was going to bring my hat on, but so I forgot it, left it at home. Didn't bring it over to the office, so I'm just representing America today.
I like it. And I'm doing Texas today, so we got it all covered between the three of us. So,
but anyway, we play the Kentucky Wildcats. Yeah. So I've got a Kentucky Pumpkin Barrel Ale. So
you had a pumpkin ale last week.
Yep,
that you loved. So this will be a good head-to-head showdown right here.
Yeah, I got a 5. You got a 5 rating. Yeah. But it was a nitro, and I think that's what boosted it up the rankings. So it'll be interesting today. Let me give you a little overview of this one. This is an ale that is aged in fresh bourbon barrels. Obviously, the sweetness of the caramel and vanilla are imparted upon a brew and complement its spicier base. So it's kind of like a cider type thing. It's got 10% alcohol by volume, robust, limited release, obviously makes for a flavorful sipping beer during those cool autumn months. So we shall see.
Very nice. Well, I've already poured mine to get a head start.
There you go.
And it is
See, Emily, that's why we like the glasses. We have to see the color.
Yeah. I know. I'm realizing that. I know. I gave everyone a heads up I was going to be representing on the podcast today, and they're all probably shaking their heads right now.
Well, you got the mason jar. Just pour it in there. Yeah. At least one of them. We know what cider looks like, though. So. Although it could be like really dark. Very nice pop. I like that. All right. So this is a s'mores stout from what's the name of this place? Martin House Brewing out of Fort Worth, Texas. So it is exactly what it sounds like. Imperial Stout brewed with graham crackers, chocolate, and marshmallows. So 9.2% alcohol by volume. We'll see how sweet this thing is. I'm a little nervous. That sounds pretty sweet. Oh, it's not over 10, so it should be bearable. But it is an Imperial Stout, so who knows where this is going to go. But it's that time of year. Like the pumpkins and the crazy flavors are out. It's fun.
Now hold that can up again. I got to see that.
Can.
Yeah, I want to see the graphics on that because that's a big. So that's a camping beer right there, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's a campfire, right? It's got to go with a campfire.
That's right.
So
s'mores.
I mean, imagine there's the campfire for you right on the back.
If this doesn't get somewhere between a 4.5 and 5.
Well, I was looking it up on Untapped, and out of 5, it's out of 2,300 ratings, it's getting 3.93 out of 5 right now. So we'll see where I bring it in compared to that. But all right, shall we cheers?
We shall.
All right.
Wait, the can doesn't clink like that.
Here's my pour, though.
That's good.
All right.
Pressed, old, reliable, and semi-sweet. I'm just gonna read the can for mine, you guys.
That's what we usually do. But literally, mine had nothing on the can except that. So usually it has a little bit more better copy, but not this one.
I like the copy on this one because it's called Midwest Nice. It says the most agreeable cider around. Grab some extra to share with your neighbor at the next potluck, because that is how we do things in the Midwest.
Yeah, that sounds almost like a Wisconsin or Minnesota coffee right there.
Minnesota.
Yeah. So,
Wow,
all right.
cheers,
So,
guys.
Emily, give your rating on that. Out of 5, we do out of 5.
1 to 5 pints.
Okay. Well, I know the pros already gave this a 5 because it won the gold at Glint Cap recently, which is the hardest category, and they already won the gold. But I'm going to give it
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
I
Irrelevant.
Personally will give it the 4, only because
there
there's the rosé cider that they make is my 5. So I'm going to go with a 4.2. So I really sound convincing.
There you go.
0.2. Okay,
0.2,
that's
we
pretty.
like it.
That's a solid.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean. I can't wait to hear this one.
It's not nearly as sweet as I thought it would be. I'm having a hard time. Like, I don't love it. So I feel like the ratings are pretty spot on. I'm gonna give it a 3.9. I feel like it's right there. I think the crowd in this case was correct.
Okay.
But
A little disappointing.
A little disappointing. I mean, I can't, when you get these kind of flavors, you kind of, it's a 50-50. Like, is it going to be really good or is it going to be too much?
Yeah.
And this is borderline too much, but it's not a sweet too much. It's just too many flavors, I think, going on.
Okay. This one is very smooth. I like it. Not too sweet. Not too pumpkin-y, like some of these pumpkin ales are. But not as good as the nitro.
The pumpkin.
Not as good as the pumpkin nitro last week. So this one's getting I'm going to give this one a 4.1 because it's pretty good. It's pretty good, but
not bad.
Nowhere close. Nowhere close.
Not bad
to
at all.
Pumpkin.
All right.
So,
well, there you have it.
Oh, by the way, for tomorrow's game, I got some other Kentucky beverage going.
Why don't you have any Georgia beverages going? Like peach tea.
Well, it's bourbon, okay?
Yeah.
Do you know any Georgia bourbons? Because
I do not. I'm sure there's got to be one up in Northeast Georgia in the mountains.
Yeah.
Probably more moonshine up there, though.
I would think moonshine.
The Laoniga's got to have some moonshine going on.
If you have a mason jar, it's perfect.
Yeah. There you go. A big mason jar, too. It's probably what she drinks her cold brew out of in the morning.
This is how I keep myself hydrated during the day. If you do about 4 or 5 of these a day, you've hit your limit, at least for me.
I can't drink that much
24
water.
ounces.
Yeah, that's a good question. How much? Because I've got a Nalgene bottle, and I go through. It's I think it's 60. I think it's right at 60 ounces. So I try to drink 2 of those a day.
Nope.
Which is a lot of water. Sometimes I don't make it. I make it like a bottle and a half. But
So all those muscles are actually just water. That's good.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I was worried. I was feeling a little inferior.
It's all, yeah. If I don't drink any water, if I go dehydrated, I just deflate.
Shrink up like a sponge. I love it.
They say if you drink alcohol, they say you should hydrate a lot more. So
drink more alcohol. Right. Yeah. You go from dark beers to light beers. Yeah. Because light beer is basically water.
Well, that's true.
So,
but given the fact that I don't drink Coors Light or Bud Light,
yeah. This is not a fitness podcast, so we won't get into my theories on water consumption and all those kind of things. But all right, so we got some secrets to talk about, Emily.
Yes.
And let me put your little scroll back up here on the screen. So you're going to share with us, what did you call it, John? You had a great title there, Jonathan. What was the five secrets of...
Oh, I turned my notes. Let's see.
Oh, man. Anyway, so we got 5 secrets we're going to share. So Emily,
five media secrets proven to amplify your brand and your voice. I stole it from Emily. She sent it to us.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Emily, before we get into the secrets, though, you got to find out a little bit about you and why you're worthy to share these secrets. Like, how did you earn the knowledge of these secrets? What is the secret
behind these secrets?
Yes.
Well, I think it's quite simply, Shawn, because I sent you a goofy email, but it grabbed your attention. And therefore you deemed me worthy, which we could talk about that. But a bit of my background, I've just spent my whole career as a news reporter or a contributor in some form or another. I started when I was in college. I was the first full-time news reporter, still in college, in a top 40 market. So it meant every morning I was waking up at around 3 a.m. and I was thrown out live on the news, making my rookie mistakes in front of about 650,000 people a day.
Wow.
And I made a lot of mistakes, you guys. That was a brutal job. But what it did is it gave me really thick skin, which I'm grateful for. And it taught me a lot. There's nothing like being a news reporter to learn about deadlines, to tell a good story in a very easy, tangible way. You guys were talking about email copywriting, your last show there, which was fascinating, and being at a 5th grade level or just writing how people talk. And it taught me a lot of how to do that. So yeah, I was a news reporter at a Fox affiliate for about 7 years. And then I just decided that I wasn't going to play the game of getting an agent and moving every 3 years to a bigger market. In news, they say you don't move up until you move out. And I just wanted to kind of plant some roots, have a family. And so I launched a PR firm. It's what a few of us in the media will eventually do when we've had enough waking up at 3 a.m. And so then I've been on the other side of the pitch or of the media for the last 8 years.
Cool.
And yeah, it's been quite a ride. It's been pretty fun. Worked with some of the fastest growing businesses in the country, those Inc. 500 types at my top of my hustle game, and the small Etsy shop or mom and pop shop down the street, and helping all of them just leverage the power of the media, because there is something just really validating about those media logos, about someone else telling your story and saying you're good.
Yeah. I mean, we do all look, whether it's rational or not, we do look for those seals of approval from media outlets, even if we don't like the media. Like, there's something about the weight of it and the history of it that it does add that third-party proof, especially for them. If you just look at the masses, like, it's going to add proof.
Right.
So, this is going to be fun because, Emily, you've been on both sides, and that's what I think is really interesting.
You could do a show on both of those sides too. I bet you've got some incredible stories from your time as a news reporter.
Oh, so many. I mean, just crazy stories from when it was my job to be live on location every day, no matter what. And one time I showed up to a brewery and the guys forgot I was supposed to be there at 6 a.m. to go live all morning. So I just had to come up with my own story. And there was a guy I could see in the area with the tanks, and I'm just banging on the door, like, let me in. So we're about to go live. And this guy comes up to the door, and he lets me in, and there I am, just surrounded by like hops and all kinds of stuff, and just threw him on camera without his he didn't know what he was doing, and he was just talking about the process of how they make beer because the actual brewer didn't show up.
Oh no!
And then I interviewed a lot of
probably hungover.
Yeah. I interviewed a lot of people hungover back in the day. A lot of crazy celebrities. I did a couple of years where I just interview all the celebrities, like a lot of times like this on those media tours that they would do. But
so there's a lot of thinking on your feet a lot of times because you don't know, anything could happen.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Well, I think what's interesting too, and I think at least a couple of the secrets will hint at this. But you mentioned you had something to do every day. Like you had to find a story
right.
every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Yeah.
and I think that's probably, I don't know which secret that would fall under, but we'll figure that out. But like, I think people need to understand that. Like, there's people like you in every market, and now in blogs, blogs, podcasts, like all these different media outlets, whether it's mainstream media or individual media, that are just looking for stories. I mean, that's why we picked you. I get a random email from you. We'll go ahead and tell that story. But it was the first email you'd written in a couple of years?
At least 3 years. At
Yeah.
least 3.
So I have no idea how I got on your list or where it was, just was it an affiliate offer? I have no idea.
By the way, I got to say that the subject line of your email, I use that in my business all the time. It's interesting because I know if I were to look at like response rates on testing subject lines, the one that says quick question, it gets a lot of response. I always use it when I need to get a response from a prospect that I'm trying to reach out to, somebody within an organization that I'm trying to connect with.
Well,
and
hers had a little extra beside just quick question.
It's been driving me crazy. We've been going back and forth about this. And each time I kept thinking, I need to change the subject because every time I see it, I cringe a little. Like, are we really still talking about my nose here?
About my nose, yeah. So I'm going to incorporate that one into my emails now.
I was wondering. I thought about it like 4 emails ago. I was like, I wonder if she's getting tired of seeing that subject line come back and forth.
I changed it on today's. But
yes, I saw that.
You know what's funny? So I don't even know. I don't even know what I used my email list for back in the day. For a hot minute, I ran some webinars teaching like these types of secrets. It would lead into my online PR program where I teach entrepreneurs and small business owners how to get press. But then I started to grow my agency and I didn't have time to focus on my course because I had like custom clients I had to serve, which in hindsight, I should have just focused on that course and saved myself all the hassle of ever growing a team and doing an office and doing all that stuff. But it takes a leap of faith to truly trust that this stuff works, the internet marketing. So I grew a list for a little bit there. And that's pretty much all I used it for. And it's been at least 3 years, maybe even 4. And I haven't really studied this stuff, although I think through osmosis of some of the clients I had, like ClickFunnels and working with Russell Brunson and his crew, I just kind of picked up a lot of this stuff. So I just decided on a whim one day, it's kind of been a burden in the back of my mind, knowing I've got this list of a couple thousand people and I can't even segment them because anyone who's ever hired our agency somehow got on if you purchase from us, you get put on this list.
Right.
So I was telling Shawn, I had everyone from like a hospital CEOs to Etsy shop owner moms. And I just didn't even know where to begin trying to segment them. So I just blasted off an email to everybody. And I looked back, I had a 40% open rate before, which also stressed me out a little bit because I didn't want to like break it. I was like, but that was really good. That's a good open rate. But also I wasn't using the list. So I'm like, what good is a 40% open rate when you're not sending emails?
Sure.
Got 40% opens of 0 sends. It's awesome.
So I just shot out those emails and Shawn is, that quick question. And then I put in parentheses, ... and about my nose. Got a lot of opens and quite a few people would reply, Shawn being one of them, which was so nice of you.
Yeah. So, and I think I was actually criticizing when I replied too for some reason.
Well, you wrote back because basically my quick question was, hey, you're on my list. I made you this offer. You must not want publicity anymore. Can you tell me why? Like just shoot me an email and tell me why. And then the about my nose part was, and be real with me, I've got a thick skin from years of being a news reporter and about that fun story. And I tell a story how about one time a viewer just wrote this scathing email to it goes to the entire newsroom, all my coworkers around me, and the email comes in and we all start looking around at each other because you can tell it's going to be a doozy. And it listed every on-air person and something nasty about them, like things I can't even say on this podcast. So it's getting down to me. And part of me, my ego is like, well, I sure hope they include me because I was still like a young reporter up and coming. And I'm like, I hope they realize I'm here. And if I'm criticized, that means they've noticed me. But in my gut, I was also like, oh, what are they going to say about me? So I get down to my name and then they say, and that Emily Richett, you should give her a raise so she can get a nose job. And then I remember I was like, wait, I have made so many big mistakes, and I look terrible half the time I'm on air because I'm still learning the makeup, and we don't have makeup
Sure.
artists and hair, and I'm young. And my nose, like, I didn't know there was a problem with my nose. So then I went into my news director's office, and he started to try to console me about this email, like, don't pay any attention to it. And I was like, no, but really, can I get a raise? Like, I mean, can I get a raise? Maybe I'll use part of it for my nose.
Maybe not.
And maybe not. And yeah, so Shawn wrote back and just said, no, the truth is, I don't know how I even got in your list. And at that price point, why would I ever buy from you?
But he responded.
But I responded. The conversation started. Now she's
the worst thing you can have is somebody that's apathetic, that doesn't even care to respond.
So. And now here I am chatting
in front of a whole new crowd,
gentlemen on YouTube and Facebook. So that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's roll into the secrets. So, what is secret number 1, Emily?
All right. Well, I think the first thing that's really important is just to understand that the media is a for-profit business. You really got to understand how the media operates and what they're looking for if you even want to begin to leverage them for your own good and for your own benefit. And this has changed greatly. When I started in the media, this is my story where I seem like I should be 80 years old, but I started in about 2006. It was my senior year of college when I got hired in for my internship at a local affiliate. And back in the olden days of 2006, the newsroom was at one end of the building and the sales department at the other. I mean, they didn't even want you working near the sales. That's how taboo it was. And it was a really big deal. You could, if you wanted to advertise on the news, you had to buy a commercial, like an actual ad, and everyone knew it was an ad. Well, what's happened over the past decade plus is, when's the last time you sat and actually sat through commercials and watched commercials? Nobody does anymore. So the news and the media, they've had to get creative, obviously, and you can now buy any part of a newscast. And by the time I left news, I, as a news reporter, was being sent out to businesses to do my live shots and my stories from businesses that were sponsored. And that's just how much it changed while I was there. A massive shift.
Sure.
So understanding that. Yeah.
So say that again, because you went by that really quick. And I think it's a huge point that you went from having to buy commercials between news segments to the news segment actually being the commercial.
Being the commercial.
Right.
Actually,
and and it's not really like, there's no thing that's running across. There's no ticker across the bottom saying this is an advertisement.
Sometimes you'll see sponsored by, but sometimes it's just sneaky. Sometimes, and I'll share a little more about that and how magazines do it. But when my first year in news, they were keeping me still part-time, but I was coming in at, like 4 a.m. to get ready for the morning show 5 days a week. And finally they had a full-time position for me, but it was going to be the first sponsored media personality, which meant I had to go work down in the sales room and I would create so I had something called The Rundown, which was a daily web show for entertainment. I had odd news. The goal is to create fun content that our sponsors can jump on because commercials aren't cutting it anymore. And they said, you can take this job, it'll be full time, but I'll warn you, my news director said, if you take this position, you'll never be able to get another news reporter job or journalist job, not only here, but in the entire market. Within a year, a new company had bought Tribune, who owned the Fox affiliate I was working for. It owns hundreds of stations around the country. And they instantly said, we need to take that girl, put her on this expanded morning show, and just start sending her to more locations on site. So I was back in the news, which they said it would never happen. And then before I left, my stuff was being sponsored. And not always directly. It might just be subtle, like go do your live shots from that coffee house that spends a lot of ad dollars with us, but they're not sponsoring your segment. Just be there and do your interviews there. So that's when I saw the shift starting. And today, what's really... the challenge is if you don't understand this and you go to pitch the media, chances are good that you're pitching the show that does sponsored segments. They're anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 for a segment. For magazines, most of the big magazines now do affiliate models. So when you see those really clickable headlines that say the top 20 gifts for new moms or the 5 genes you can't live without, whatever. If you look at them, most of them are linking either to Amazon or one of the other major affiliate sites. And they all will have a disclaimer that says, we may make a commission if you click through and buy anything. And that's all Pop Sugar, Bustle, BuzzFeed, almost Today's Show, Good Morning America. You can pay to have your product on almost any of those shows. and it's just a totally different game. Most of it's pay to play now.
Sure.
Yeah, and I've noticed this. I just kind of noticed this, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I always watch CBS Sunday Morning. It's one of my favorite shows. As long as they don't get too political. I like it when they keep it more magazine-like. But I started to notice that whoever the main interview was on CBS Sunday Morning, I would see that same person interviewed all through the week on every other talk show, late night show. Yeah. And you start to realize, you're like, oh, that's just not coincidence that they're
he's
making
the circuit. Yeah.
Making the circuit. So, I mean, I guess it's not just stars can do that. Anybody can do that if you want to pay to play.
Yeah, some of that's pay to play. Sometimes if your name is big enough, what a lot of those celebrities will do now, they have a book, they have something coming out, and they'll also get a sponsor to go. So when I've interviewed everyone from Harrison Ford to Kim Kardashian, Meatloaf. Remember Meatloaf?
Yes.
That's a good one. I don't even know why I interviewed most of these people, but there would usually be a question I'd have to ask that had to do with the sponsor. So like with Kim Kardashian, it may have been like Colgate. As long as I answer the one question about like, how is Colgate supporting the kids' youth sports program or whatever that tie-in was, I had to ask that one question, but then the rest could be mine. And so I would do an entertainment show and interview all these celebrities, but there was always the sponsor question I had to get in. And so you see a lot of that. But, it's not all hopeless, especially as the entrepreneur. You can still pitch the media and get featured. You just need to understand that, because here are the two things. If you're not going to pay for it, and how else is your story going to help them get money?
Well, that's a good segue, I think,
content.
I think that's a good segue into secret number 2.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So secret number 2 is something I learned from the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine, Jason Pfeiffer. It's sometimes you're not the story, but sometimes you're a part of the story. I was a contributor for Entrepreneur Mag for a couple of years, and Jason tells the story of a guy that was pitching to have his business covered, and it was a guy who left his career, I think in accounting, and he invented something called the Ripple Rug, and it's a cat toy. It's a cool cat toy. He just made something for his cat. It took off. He started a business. And he pitched himself to Entrepreneur Magazine. And Jason, the editor-in-chief, wrote back and said, hey, cool. He's obviously really nice, like Shawn, that he even wrote back to such a pitch and said, cool, good for you. But if you read our magazine, you're going to notice we don't just do features on businesses. We're usually talking about a bigger story, obstacles, things that other entrepreneurs can relate to and will learn something from. We're not just featuring businesses for the heck of it. Right. And so the Ripple Rug guy wrote back and said, oh, well, thanks for replying. Well, here's a story that might resonate with some of your readers and entrepreneurs. And he basically talked about the entire retail arbitrage that happens with e-commerce, where someone stole the pictures off his website, created their own site, or ran ads to them, but having people buy the Ripple Rug. And when people would buy them, he'd sell it at a high cost. He'd then, whoever this was, the scam artist, would go to his site, buy it at the lower cost, have it shipped to that person. And then if that person goes to return it, it was just like a big mess. So he talks about that. Well, anyway, who got a 4-page spread in Entrepreneur Magazine a few months later? Jason, the Ripple Rug guy. And it's this, so I talk about this in one of my webinars. I got the picture of his whole spread in Entrepreneur Magazine. And he got that because he was willing to be a part of a bigger story that related to the audience, not just trying to tell his own story, but it tells his whole story and talks about Ripple Rug. It gave him the type of press that you can't just buy with an ad. And it's thinking in frame of how can you be a part of the story? And one easy way to do that, and that takes me to tip number 3. Can I just run into tip number 3 like that? Okay.
Go for it.
Absolutely.
I said everything is a dang holiday with the media. If you can create a day or tie into one of these fake holidays, then you are in luck. Basically, if you go to, what's the website?
There's a couple of them. I use brownylocks.com.
Okay, days of the year. Yep,
yeah, days of the year. Time and date is another one.
So we can look up right now what today's days are if you guys feel like
National Donut Day. No, that's not yet.
I
can't tell you how many times I've leveraged National Donut Day.
Well, I was looking. I use this for emails all the time, Emily. I will tie into one of these when I write emails for customers. And I know this weekend is, I think Sunday is Clean Your Virtual Desktop Day.
Oh.
So clean off all those icons on your desktop. So.
But if you were a business coach in a local market, let's say, or you were a decluttering, that's a new professional. You can be like a professional organizer. You could use that as a pitch angle and say, did you know that the new type of clutter that actually stresses a lot of people out, especially as they're working from home, is the digital clutter. And Sunday is National Clear Off Your Digital Desktop Day. And I'd love to come in and give your viewers the 3 tips to declutter their virtual lives. And like, that sounds great. I was like, okay, that is timely. That's cool. So you can absolutely leverage these goofy holidays or create your own. Or you can do this little trick I have. I had a friend, she used to work for Dave Ramsey down in Nashville. And then she left to go. She went to go all out on her own. She was a certified like marriage counselor, and her husband started her own like marriage counseling business. And so she emailed me because I once did a thing with the Ramsey group there. And she said, Emily, you did that PR workshop. I need your tips. I'm going all in. And we have our annual marriage retreat. And this year I have to sell it because it's actually our bread and butter this year. So what do I do? How do I get press? And this was in like January. And I knew Valentine's Day was coming up. So I said, this is perfect timing. Pitch your local media, TV, magazines, you name it, and use the Valentine's Day angle. But everyone pitches like date night tips, things to get your Valentine. You should tell them, because I'm pretty sure it's true. I'm married. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Valentine's Day is actually like one of the #1 holidays that create arguments and like frustrations and unmet expectations, right? So find some stat about that and talk about the realities of Valentine's Day. Like, how can you actually make it better with these unmet expectations? So she used that angle and got on 3 TV shows and like 2 print articles, and she sold out her retreat. So it's like leverage that holiday, but what is the unpopular opinion about the holiday and take that angle?
Yeah. So how
now,
far
real quick,
ahead?
what is the, I got to ask, I want to back up. What's a resource you can find the holidays? Shawn, you mentioned one.
Daysoftheyear.com is one I use, but Shawn had a different one.
BrownieLocks.com. I'm scrolling today's across the bottom right now, but Brownie Locks, which is a terrible site. It looks like it's built in 1995, but like it was the Netscape browser to use it. But no, it's always up to date and accurate. So
cool.
But yeah, like today, as we're recording this, is Blind Americans Equality Day. It's Global Hand Washing Day. It's International Day of Rural Women. I Love Lucy Day, Mammography Day, which fits into the bigger breast cancer awareness month and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Well, you see a lot of radio people, if you listen to talk radio at all, even local, they really use these a lot every day to segue into whatever, whatever opinion they have of that holiday. If it's Donut Day or if it's, National Beer Day, Craft Beer Day or whatever, they use it as a segue into, what is your opinion, blah, blah, blah. And they'll spend like 20 minutes talking about the topic, right?
Yeah.
Just to kill airtime, right? So
Emily, how far ahead do you have to put this in front of and who do you put in front of? An editor? Like, how would you get this in front of let's say a local, any type of media? We'll just start with any type, but
Okay, when you're looking at national for print outlets, you're talking 6 months in advance. That is the timeline they're working on. But a lot of that's changed. Even you see some of the biggest magazines have quit their print issues and they just do their digital magazine. They're pushing out so much content on their social platforms that you can be just as powerful. You still get to use that logo. There's a way you can be featured on today.com, like the Today Show, that almost, at least as of a few months ago, any mom could basically create her own account and share like a parenting story, and boom, you get to use the Today Show logo, even though you're on today.com parents. So there's a lot of opportunities that you can share. This is not just the big main feature, but if we're talking print national, it's 6 months in advance. You can usually find their editorial calendars. Remember, their goal is to sell ads. They want businesses to know what their magazine issues will be in advance, because that's how they sell their advertising. They want you to know when the mother issue is and the Go Green plant issue in April, and maybe it's the dad's issue in June or July. Like they have all these special issues lined up a year in advance in their editorial calendars. So that's how you can look at that. Like Forbes has a particular one that is like women in business. They'll have another one that's young entrepreneurs. So if you're going to pitch yourself and you're a woman in business, pitch for the month that's Women in Business Month for Forbes, for instance. So those are all 6 months in advance. And then their digital issue can be anywhere from like 2 to 3 months out. Local news for your local TV station, anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. They oftentimes will have last minute opportunities. But if it's a big holiday, let's say you want to get holiday press coverage for your local business, or you sell something that could be a gift item, you want to start that in early November at the latest, because November is that shop small,
Sure.
celebration, all those themes and holidays. But you can always email last minute and say, if you're looking for a last minute story, my restaurant, that is celebrating its 5th year anniversary is doing this event for the public, and these proceeds go to charity. You can always do that locally. And in fact, so that is my number 4 tip, is that tapping into that overlooked PR opportunity of local press can just be a huge opportunity, and people overlook it. We get businesses that hire us all the time, like, no, but we want national. I'm like, okay, awesome. So how much local press have you done?
Yeah.
And what do you think their answer is?
None.
0.
In fact, if I go to Google this company, there is nothing on their digital footprint except for their own website and maybe some of their own blogs. That's it. And I said, how do you expect you're going to go get national press? Because the first thing these national producers or editors or writers are going to do is to look and see what other coverage you've had, because it makes their job easier. It validates that you're newsworthy. It helps them to know how to tell a story if they see other people have told the story. And when you get on your local news first, you are never more newsworthy than your own local station. The fact that you are a local man doing business there, or woman, makes you newsworthy. So it's easier to get to. It's a great way to practice. And then you can leverage that press to the national station. Most people have never been featured on the Today Show if they weren't first featured on an affiliate NBC station.
Sure.
And sometimes those stories can feed into national. And then when people if you go to pitch the editor of a major magazine or a writer, and they go to search you and a bunch of other news features pop up, well, that's going to be really powerful. And these local news stations have great SEO. They're putting out so much video content. Their SEO is just naturally really strong.
Yeah, and I think another thing, it seems to me like, one, it's good practice. You might make a fool in front of 500,000 people instead of 10 million, or whatever.
It gives you a chance to refine your message in a smaller market, right?
And if it's something where people are going to like buy from you or order from you because you can deliver nationally, your site may not be ready for a national exposure. If you've never had that kind of influx on your website, it could crash your website for sure.
Yeah. And the national TV stations will say, can I see one of their recent media interviews? They're national for a reason. Remember the two things. Either they want you on their show because you are directly giving them money to be on it, or because you are so good. What you have to say will be so good and so popular, increases viewership or readership, which then allows them to sell more ads. Either way, it all circles back to the revenue. So you either want your content to be great or your story to be so fascinating, which 99% of the time, it's not necessarily about you, but how it relates to other people. What will they learn from it? What is their takeaway? And you can do that by starting local, and you'll learn a lot, and then you'll be able to, when you go to pitch yourself, link back to the local press that you've had, and that makes a huge difference to those editors and producers.
You mentioned the last minute for local news. How soon? I mean, can you email them week of, just, hey, if you're looking for a last minute segment, or does that need to be kind of a few weeks ahead of time, or how does that
Jonathan,
work?
You just hire Emily. She's handling it.
So here's
of course that's the obvious answer, but
here's the real trick. Ideally, you want to just become your media's local go-to person for your industry. So if when I was a reporter, I had chefs on my speed dial, basically the brewers, local businesses, go-to people that could just talk about cool things going on around town. And they were people that just they understood, they got me. They knew exactly what I needed.
Right.
So sometimes I would call them last minute and say, hey, do you have it's National Hot Tub Day tomorrow, and for whatever reason, like, it's just anything. My boss wants me at a hot tub place to talk about, okay, that's a really odd holiday I just picked. But
I'm sure it's out there.
I actually know someone who did my course, and she leveraged it was Bathtub Day. That's what it was. It was National Bathtub Day. And she got to go on a local TV station and do a whole thing. And she makes like homemade bath products for kids and stuff. But so you want to first get in with the media, like do them a favor by giving them a great segment about something that they'll find valuable. something timely, something about one of these holidays or something they're looking for. And then you can really pull that card of, hey, if you need a last minute guest this week, here's my idea. And you can also help them out by giving them other story ideas. If you know someone is opening a cool business, you see something neat is happening, give them some leads. They still like getting those leads, and you're kind of being a source for them first. You're helping them out before you're just asking for a favor.
That's a great tip. Like be valuable just as a contact in general. Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah, so if you can be a go-to expert, like you don't have to have a brick and mortar store. You could be the expert on for small businesses, and then think my local media here, and I'm sure media did around the country, and all the big ones did too. They turn to their experts on what should small businesses be doing now? What if all of a sudden you had to close your office? We saw a lot of that leaning on more of our experts that other viewers and small businesses could relate to. Because remember, the media, unless they're a specialty show where they are the expert, I was fresh out of college. I wasn't an expert about anything. So my job was to every day go find an expert on that new law that's passing, or the cool festival that's happening, or this latest thing that's national in the news, and localize it. So that has been a major trend. People saw it, of course, during a pandemic, but every year during flu season, if you were paying attention, you would see that the local media would get their college professor or local doctor on to talk about what's the flu doing this year, and how much is that flu shot really working. Or then there'd be a big earthquake somewhere, and they talk about what could the impact be if we ever had something like that here. They always like to localize national events, and that is a trend we've been seeing since the beginning of news.
So how,
for our
how
listeners,
quickly?
So I was going to mention real quick, what's the best way? How do people reach local news? I mean, obviously you're emailing someone. Who do they reach out to within a news department or an organization?
Well, there are a couple ways to do it. Especially if you want to do local news, watch the shows as much as you can. Go to their website. One little hack I have is you go to their website and use the search function and search for like whatever your topic would be. If you own a restaurant, do the search restaurant and look at who just covered new restaurants in town, or who's actually covering the beat of food or beer. And there usually is a food and beer person or someone who covers local business at each station. You got to find out who that person is. You want to follow them on their channels, and all this just takes minutes. It sounds like a big deal, but it's not. Once you start following them, sometimes the easiest way can be on social, but the go-to is email. Still is a pretty standard way of reaching out. They don't, want phone calls or anything. And you just email them and be real. Right. Like I was to my dead email list, basically. I just tried to obviously you're more personal. You're emailing one person and not blasting a bunch of people, but you just want to kind of cut to the chase, know that they probably have 100 emails they're digging out from over the weekend, and lead with that value of, what's in it for their audience. Why would their audience care about it?
Sure.
So what I was going to ask is, let's say there's a national thing going on. How quickly do you need to try to piggyback on that? What's the shelf life of kind of a national thing?
Well, as quick as you can if you want to be first. The media loves to be first. They do not like old stories. Yeah. But there's always a new angle. There's always a new hook to most things that are happening. And some can have a shelf life for a long time. So I'm just going to make something up off the top of my head. You can take the Olympics or something that happens with the Olympics every year. What's the hottest story that happened with our recent Olympics? Anything?
Probably Simone Biles dropping out.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So you saw that. That's a national story. Everyone's talking about it. You could quick reach out. It helps now that you already have a relationship or know who you're reaching out to. But worst case, you go to the website and you look at their newsroom email. Most have pitch us, and they'll have just a newsroom at whatever the call letters are, whatever the station's called. And you could say, hey, I'm a mental health expert, or I'm a psychologist. And if you would like someone to talk about, to shed some light on this situation and to talk about the reality of mental health and the importance of whatever. And then boom, there's your pitch with your national angle. And the sooner you can do that, the better. But there's usually waves to that story. First it starts a story of, wow, it's a shocker. Here's what's going to happen, just the fallout from it. But then they're trying to localize it. And then what is the importance of mental health? And and you'll see all those angles come out. I'm trying to think of some other examples.
What about you? So would you say that the person to contact is like the person that does the stories like you used to do? So not the anchors. Do you want to try to, because most of these people now have, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. So most of these people have like Instagram pages now.
Yeah.
That, if you like them, you like a story or like a location they're on or whatever, they're going to see your name. So I wonder if that helps. Like then when you email them, like that name seems vaguely familiar.
Oh
Seems
yeah,
like
engaging online first is a huge help. I still get people that used to follow my stuff when I was a news reporter that now still follow my Instagram pages. And so, I mean, most of my following, I would say I'll have, I don't know, it was like close to 8,000 or something on Instagram. I've kind of made a lot of people mad lately with my Instagram, so I've lost a few. As I think a lot of us maybe, tiptoeing into that. But so I've lost some followers there. But for instance, most of the following I have on most of my pages, I think, like 10,000 on Facebook stuff. Most of them are old news viewers. It's not like I haven't really done anything earth shattering in my business world, but they're news people, and they'll still follow me to this day. So there is something, I'll notice their name from back then, and you can follow your local news person and give them tips or even tag them in stories that they think would, if you're doing something cool. That's a little hack I have. If you're doing something cool, tag the local news people and local news stations on it. Nice. Sometimes the people who are running the accounts are either could be anything from a marketing intern to the producer. A lot of there are multiple people have access to the station accounts because they're pitching, they're putting their stories out every day and teasing them online. So tag them and stuff because then they're going to see, oh, this is a really cool thing that just happened. That's a strategy that works really well. But yeah, you email the reporter themselves. You could email an anchor. They're not usually ones who pick the stories. The producers are.
Okay, sure.
But they're a good person to pitch it for you. They love to bring ideas to the table.
So were you your own producer? Or did you have a producer for all the things that you were doing?
So I produced my own stuff, but I still had a producer of the show. So I had someone who could say, ultimately they kind of gave me free reign, but they also once in a while would say, we need you to go cover XYZ topics, or, oh, cool, Emily, you're going to be at the zoo for the new panda bear exhibit. Well, no, there is this house fire and you got to go cover it. Yeah. So they got the last say of that. But
so you were like Jim Carrey in the movie, what was he, where he became God? Is that, or got the powers of God or whatever? What was that when he was the reporter? That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yes.
That's
what was that movie?
I can't remember the name of it now, but yeah. All right. So let me recap the secrets, then we'll do the last secret. So the first secret was understand the media is a business. Mm-hmm. Number 2 was sometimes you're not the story, but sometimes you're part of the story. Number 3 is everything is a holiday. Number 4 is tap into the often overlooked but powerful PR opportunity of local media. And number 5 is...
number 5 is that your actual piece of coverage is only half the media win. The real power is what you do with it and how you can leverage it. And I know as internet marketers, you guys know this, and there's so much power in taking that interview, that video, whatever that story is, this third party, credible, validating piece of media, and making sure people see it. Only so many people will see your news story in real time in that market on their TV. Only so many people are going to hear the podcast the first time it airs. There's a reason places will repurpose and keep pushing great content out to their audiences multiple times. And you need to do that too when you get press coverage. Don't assume people saw it. In fact, assume nobody has seen it. Put it out to your email news list if that's something that you do. Use those logos on your website. Share it on social media. What's interesting is from the time when I was working with Entrepreneur Magazine, when I was a video contributor, and the one thing that inspired me to write my email was because my husband sent me a screenshot that morning of his Facebook feed, and it was one of the interviews I did for Entrepreneur Magazine. And it was a 3-year-old interview. And so I just said, wait, what? This is recent? This was in your feed just now? That's 3 years old. And he wrote back and said, yeah, well, it's still good content. It's still good stuff. And I was like, whoa. And then I was like, wow, like Gym Launch, it was these co-founders of Gym Launch. I'm like, they should really be thrilled because for 3 years now, they've been reaching thousands of people through this one interview. And you can tell because the engagements had all these shares, over 1,000 likes. And so it just kind of like inspired me to open up my email and email people about the power of media, that 3 years strong, this one interview is still getting circulated. It shows just how valuable an outlet found it to be, and how valuable I know that brand found it to be in the media that long.
That's Alex Hormozy, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, he lives right down the road from me, so he's right around the corner here in
Don't
Austin.
tell him I talked about him. He did end up firing us on a Zoom call that I was like, I am glad I actually showed up for this Zoom call and did not leave my team for it. Yeah. I think I've only been fired once, and it was from Alex, and it was Alex and Layla are. It is it's an awesome story, actually.
Yeah, well, everybody gets fired eventually, I think.
It happens. I think we did PR for them for like 3 months. We got them some good stuff, but then some of our publicists just they at the end of the day, they weren't working hard enough, but also PR takes time. But tell that to someone like Alex Hormozy, who's built a 0 to 60 million plus business in like a matter of a year. Yeah. No, he's not taking that. And so it was the whooping. A little
faster than most of us, for sure.
Yeah, it was the whooping my young PR team needed, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So what are some of the things that you can do? Let's say you get on and you're on a 2 to 5 minute segment. That's what most of them are, right? It's 2 to 5 minutes. Like, you got that video. First of all, how do you get the video? Is that something you can just ask for? I mean, how does that work?
Oh, yeah. So, most of them will put it on their website, because that's where they're getting most of their viewers now.
Okay.
I always ask before I leave. I've got this little trick. I'm basically just giving you like all my little secrets. In part, did I tell you guys how I don't love media anymore and I don't really care?
Yeah.
So this is why I'm giving away my secrets. So I'm all about like figuring out how to leverage the media for your own benefit as much as you can, because you deserve to do that. So my little trick is, when you get TV coverage, especially, you ask them, hey, is this going to be online? I'd love to share it, because you want to share it and tag them. They want you to help promote it. The more they know that you're pushing it out to their audience, that you appreciated what they did for you, the more you're going to get invited back. But before you leave, I call this my up next strategy. You already have your next story, your next hook in mind. So you can say, hey, this was awesome. Next month is Mother's Day. I'd love to come back on and talk about the 5 ways you can support a new mom, or whatever your hook is.
Right.
Already have that in your back pocket. So after you end a podcast interview, usually, like, we're going to chit chat and say, okay, that was awesome. Thanks. Where's it going to be posted? I'll share it. That's when you say, by the way, next month, here's the thing. Or, if you ever want me to talk about how you can leverage podcasts to grow, like, that's something I could do to you guys, for instance. You do that for anything. If you're interviewed on a podcast, if it's TV, if you are interviewed for an article, you're doing an email back and forth, always have your call to action, like Internet Marketing 101. Use that in your PR too.
That's a great point, because we've probably done 100 interviews, and I don't think one person said, hey, I've got a follow-up idea we should do.
Sure. Yeah.
And these are all like marketers for the most part. Not a single person is. So I don't know if that says something about us, or like, I do not want to give these guys another hour.
Nah, they're probably intimidated, because they're like, oh, marketers know these things.
Yeah.
But it works.
It's most likely. Yeah.
But also, like you said,
I think you just get lazy, and I think you forget to prepare for those things.
That too. But like you said, I think Shawn or Jonathan, one of you opened it up with, the media wants good content. And so if you can make their lives easier and their jobs easier by kind of serving to them on a platter what they're looking for, and then you already have the next idea for them, you just saved them another 20 minutes of finding a topic.
Such a great point. Yeah. Because people by nature, we're lazy. I mean, not completely lazy, but we drift towards the path of least resistance, right? So if you make their jobs so much easier, they're open to hearing new ideas. Heck yeah. This is a great idea. I've got a friend in Houston. This sort of reminds me, talking about this, I've got a friend in Houston. He's a bariatric surgeon. So he goes on a regular show, and has done so for the last several years, but it's a local program called Great Day Houston. And what he does is he brings a lot of his patients on that have had laparoscopic surgery, bariatric surgery, and they tell their stories right on the show. And so, they cover different segments on a regular basis, like different aspects of that, but it's all tied back to, changing your habits. And, that's a big thing with him, like not just a quick fix. Bariatric surgery is not a quick fix, but it's it's all about it's the beginning of a lifestyle change where you have to start changing some habits in your life. And he talks about that, but he's always, when he does a show, he's always like, in the past, he's been priming them for another segment or, another idea for another topic that they can do on a follow-up. And that makes them, they're always just reaching out. They've reached out in the past and followed up with him. And it's been a good relationship between the two. So
Emily, let me ask you this, like, are you going to be more likely to like go into the studio or be on location? Like what's kind of the trend you're seeing right now?
Well, it used to be to come in studio if you're local, but now even that during COVID times, they switched to the Zoom interviews and they're kind of just keeping it. A lot of them are keeping it that way. Some are going back into studio, but now what's really cool is it's created just the opportunity where Zoom can be acceptable no matter what. So right before COVID, a couple months before things got shut down, I went on like 6 red eyes in a row, like each week around the holidays to do my holiday gift guide. So I had this thing, like I had the agency, we'd have all these parenting products were a big niche of ours. And I would come up with a gift guide like every quarter, and I would hop on a plane and go all the way out to LA to go on KTLA Good Morning and be like, here's my gift guide. And so I had to fly around. It was exhausting, it was expensive, and I had young kids at home. So when COVID happened, I just started filming with my iPhone. Talk about saving time and money. I filmed my segments on my iPhone and edited them and sent them out to even more stations nationwide, and they started airing my stuff. So now, like, I don't leave my house. I don't wear pants most days. It's great. I don't really do that so much anymore. I'm getting away from all of that, mostly just because I don't love the industry. I also don't love the consumerism culture and promoting like you have to buy these things, and because I'm not a big fan of that. But if you want to leverage the media, or you have a great small business, you need to use it to promote, the media is still a really powerful tool. I still believe, even though there are so many changes, it's still one of the most effective ways, like convincing ways to reach a new audience, because people, I think we're seeing this, people believe what they see on the news, right? People just believe.
At least half the people do.
Yeah. A good majority. Exactly.
Well, it depends on the station, I guess.
That's right. Exactly. It depends on which platform, right?
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. But people just still find it really validating. They find those logos incredibly validating. And I still think there are some reporters out there that are looking to share good, true stories, but you got to frame it in the content they want. And it's not usually just, hey, think of that Ripple Rug story. It's not about his business. It was about the bigger story he could relate to others.
Are you a fan of Ryan Holiday? Do you read any of his stuff?
I actually love Ryan's content. I don't believe in a lot of the same things he does, but I really enjoy his content and his podcast. I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah. That was an eye-opening. The first time I read, I think many, many years ago when I read his book, Trust Me, I'm Lying, I was like, whoa.
I never read that one. That's his first one, right?
Yeah, that was his first one. But it was like, it was really an eye-opening, experience for me to see how someone can manipulate the media like they do. I mean, you see the game that's played. That's a great book to start with, to see, how he used it. He uses a lot of examples in that book, but I'm curious, how effective, in this day and age that we're in, are, these press, sending out press releases, and how should you, I guess, format those if you're actually using those to try to blast them out? Yeah. And even if that works anymore.
Right. So it works if you want to be a scammer. There are some ways it truly works, and some ways you can be a scammer, and then the ways that you don't even waste your time. What you'll see right now, there are entire agencies. There are always going to be these, like, because the opportunity for media can be so big, it's also just prime for scam artists. And I share sometimes on my Instagram, I get so many DMs from people offering guaranteed press in Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, that ethically cannot exist. I was a contributor for Inc. and Entrepreneur, and I signed ethical statements saying I will not accept money and all this stuff to be featured. Now, it doesn't say, like, for instance, Gym Launch got featured and they weren't a client then. Now, when I later on went to pitch them, they hired me. That was after the fact. But people will now say, you want to be in Forbes, Inc., whatever it is, just pay me. And they'll come to somebody like me at the time when I was a contributor and say, will you write about our clients for this amount of money? It's illegal because you sign a contract saying you won't do that. So there are people who will do like scam services like that, or what they do is they take press releases. Entire agencies, their only strategy is they invent, like we talk about invented holidays, they invent the top internet marketers of the country awards or something like that. And they put out a press release where they name the top 10 fitness influencers, and you buy a spot to be, and they're really SEO visible press release. And that's all it essentially is something on a newswire that gets huge SEO and gets picked up then by Yahoo and all these other like Google Finance and other sites, but it's completely fake. Now, there is a good way to use press releases, and we work, so pre-COVID, heading right into the pandemic, 80% of our reoccurring revenue is actually in hospitality and restaurants. We were working with franchise companies around the country. So yeah, overnight, 80% of our revenue just dropped. But if you're in the restaurant business and you're doing a lot of grand openings, press releases still work, because in your local markets where you're doing your grand openings, it helps the local news tell your story, and especially the print outlets love it because they will just like copy and paste your press release now. They're so short on staff. You've got all the storytelling, all the facts in there. They love a good press release. But on a national level, not so much. It's really the pitch that matters, finding the right person that will tell your story.
Right.
All right. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. So you got any more questions, Jonathan, before we let Emily
No, and I think it's a good point. Good takeaway from that is that you really should start on a local level, before you start reaching out to the national media and build a foundation there, because, these local outlets are hungry for stories. So, I mean, we're coming up on Thanksgiving, Christmas. So,
if you think about it, most people probably live within a 3 or 4 hour. Well, now you don't even have to drive. Like you said, Zoom is so acceptable now.
Yeah.
But if you could get on, there's usually 3 or 4 networks in each town. So up to 4.
ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS. Sometimes there's like a CW.
Right.
And pitch them an idea and make it really brief. Tell them what you're offering and exactly what you're asking for. Don't beat around the bush. This is not a time to play coy and it's like asking someone out on a date and thinking now you're expecting them to write you an email and invite you on the show. Just say, I'd love to come on your morning show. Look at their website, watch a couple shows, understand that, live guests are coming in studio, it looks like, or, it seems like they're taking people on Zoom. Because then you can say, I'd be happy to hop on a Zoom for your show, or we can pre-record, or I'll gladly wake up at 5 a.m. and we have, so locally we always called it the red couch at our Fox studio. We have our guests would sit on the red couch. And so people would email in their idea and say, I'd love to join you on the red couch with my coffee at 6 a.m. We'd be like, okay, clearly this person gets it. They're going to be good.
Absolutely.
Well, what I was
what's in it for me? That's the key.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The old Brian Tracy, WIIFM.
Yep.
What's in it for me?
But yeah, if you can just get on 4 or 5 shows, you can hand that off to any high school editor, create a sizzle reel. That talking about reusing content, where you've got 5 newscasters in a studio or on whatever, like introducing you and saying your name. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
That's much better than just having the logos there. If you can have a quick little sizzle reel that you've been on these different shows and whatever, whether it's live or Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a friend that did, David Dutton over in Nashville. He did. So he's got, his business is on how to pay off your home in like 7 or 8 years. So it's a system that you follow. So I guess he invited a mathematics professor, to come on his show to explain like the math involved in how you can literally pay off your home in 7 years, using this system. And it was kind of, it added a lot of legitimacy to what they were claiming, but did that on a local level, invited the guy, paid the guy to come down, and they did it on a local show in Nashville. and they're repurposing that like crazy right now. So
yeah, you're in Nashville, right?
I'm in Knoxville, but
you're in Knoxville,
Nashville's like
okay.
2.5 hours.
So one of our franchise groups, well, Lindsay, who I told you about, the marriage counselor, all the press she did using that technique was in Nashville. But we had a Sweetwater's Coffee and Tea franchise open in Nashville. Our other little hack that we do is we tell them, if you are a restaurant or cafe or you have a business that has stuff, you're a brewery, drop off your goods. Now you got to call the station in advance, let them know.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a local business. I want to drop off a press kit to the newsroom. So we had them deliver coffees and teas and in their swag. And then sure enough, that next morning, there are the anchors holding the Sweetwater's coffee and tea mugs, drinking out of it. And they put a little lower third down that said grand opening coming soon.
That's good.
Because I love it. Goes right along with your last podcast where you're talking about that famous email that was actual like mail marketing.
Yeah.
Your pitch or your press release in an inbox is easily overlooked. It could go to spam. It can be forgotten about. You deliver food to a newsroom. Your press release is going to be viewed by many people. And even if you don't have a food business, let's say you guys want to promote your podcast, you could deliver a cool, because we do all the restaurant week and beer month type of press here in Beer City, USA. So I know it works. You deliver a bunch of swag of beer and some t-shirts or hats of your podcast saying we're celebrating our, 3rd anniversary, whatever it is. At 2 newsrooms with your hook, like what is it you're asking? You're going to probably get more of a response, or at least then you can follow up and say, hey, did you get all that awesome beer we sent? You're going to get a reply better than if you just sent an email.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I mean, sales reps have been doing that for years. Jonathan's a sales, he does industrial sales and has to go to the physical locations. I mean, box of donuts, bagels, whatever. Like,
they love it. They eat it up.
Still works. Works.
Tape
that press release inside the donut box top.
I've leveraged National Donut Day more than I can count for things that had nothing to do with donuts, but it was an excuse to deliver donuts to a newsroom with a completely different press release topic.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, pharmaceutical sales reps, that's their bread and butter is buying lunch for the offices for doctors and nurses. And, it's on their expense account because it works so well.
Reciprocity.
Yeah.
It works every time.
Yeah. You feed people, makes them happy. So. Exactly. All right. Well, Emily, where can people find you and learn more about what you do? And who's your ideal client?
Yeah, if you go to emilyrichett.com, I see you've got it down there. You guys are so fancy here. This is awesome. I feel like I'm on CNN right now, although
Sean he's pulling the trigger on this. He's like loaded everything up here.
Yeah, this is like Fox News spotlight here. Yeah, so emilyrichett.com. So as I mentioned, I kind of took the opportunity to jump off the hamster wheel when COVID hit. It gave me a great chance to just reassess if I was even happy doing what I was doing. And the reality was I really wasn't. Part burnout, agency life, media. There have been a lot of changes. And I'm just enjoying really being a mom and leaning into my media mastermind I have where I teach people techniques like this. But we also give them a lot of the tools, the templates. I rewrite their pitches. We give them some media lists, the editorial calendars. We do a lot of the heavy lifting for them, but then helping them actually execute their own plans. Or if they have a team, they'll put a team member. You put your marketing person in the program, and then we rewrite their pitches and make sure they actually get results. And people do get results. If you actually do the work, do the proven method, send out the pitches, do our follow-up hacks and techniques that we use, you're going to get results. So, and that's where I'm really focusing my time now, and all about stepping away personally from the media as much as I can.
There it is. There's the website.
There it is. I've got a free guide. I've got a podcast called The Amplify Show that you can listen to. And,
cool. I'm going to subscribe. Is that a weekly show?
Yeah, I try. Sometimes once in a blue moon, it's bi-weekly, and once in a while, it's every few weeks. But usually I'm on a good roll lately. I interview a lot of authors. We talk about how to amplify your business and your life, but a lot of life topics, like you were talking about Stoicism earlier. I do quite a bit on that and other ancient philosophies, about a bit on faith and motherhood. So especially if you're a mom entrepreneur, I think it'll resonate a lot.
Emily, I'll be reaching out to you because I do a podcast in the manufacturing and industrial sector and composites manufacturing. So I do a couple of different podcast shows in that industry. So I think this topic would be awesome for so many of our, our members in the industry.
Yeah.
They're made up of mostly, obviously manufacturing companies, but, I think this would be a great topic to share with them for sure. Going out to a big trade show next week in Dallas where, it's, some of them have no clue. I would bet, I would dare say that probably 90% of these companies have no clue how to use what we're talking about today. And I'll be talking with them.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I want to have you on my other platform.
Yeah, I'd enjoy that. It's a big opportunity. I think it's probably one of the more intimidating ways to market yourself. But once you realize it's not that scary and it can be a really powerful tool for your business, then you're kind of stupid not to leverage it when it's right there in front of you.
Sure.
And they need you. I mean, you've kind of mentioned that, but they need the material as much as, and the content as much as you need them, if not more. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, Jonathan, I'll let you wrap it up. I want to send Emily to the green room and we'll wrap up and we'll come back to you.
Thank you guys so much. Cheers to you. And I appreciate you having me on. And Shawn, thank you so much for reading my email.
Yes. Yeah. Hang tight in the green room. We'll come back to you as soon as we wrap.
Emily, it's been a pleasure. I'll be reaching out to you for my other podcast shows, but hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.
You as well.
Let's see. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love that.
So the big 5 secrets, they're all in there. Just start using them.
Yep.
All right.
I love the tip on, going local first. I think is I think people make the mistake. So many businesses make the mistake of thinking, you know what, I'm not going to stoop down to these local markets. I'm going to go big. Right?
Well, I think too, a lot of the people, a lot of our listeners probably do have a more national, international ability to offer services or products or whatever they're doing. So it's easy to overlook local because it seems like a step down.
Right.
But if you can get that video and get that footage and
absolutely,
it really does add a lot of, it's that third party proof that, is better than most anything else you can do right now.
Absolutely. Because it's all about repurposing. Once you got that video, use it. I mean, I really don't think, I think it's perception. Perception is, it plays a huge part in it. So who cares? If they see a video on your website or your landing page where you're getting interviewed from, even if it's a local affiliate, who cares?
It's got weight. It definitely does.
It definitely has weight.
So. And I think I actually think video is, it's kind of a step above the logo bar because so many people have the logo bar now that's it's still effective, but it's not what it was 3 or 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think having some video footage would be good if you can get it.
Yeah, I think people have been playing on that bar for a long time.
Yeah.
So it does help. The video does help.
Yeah. The bar still works. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It automatically gives some credibility right there. You see Fox or, whenever we have guests on, that's one of the things that I look at when we invite guests on is like, okay, whoa, they've been featured on Fox Business or, CNN or whoever. So that certainly helps a lot. But anyway, great show. Good topic. As always, you can find us over at persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. And Shawn, it's been fun, man. We'll see you guys next week. And as always, persuasionbythepint.com. See you guys.
See ya.
All right.